I didn't notice him the first time. That's the part that bothers me the most. If I had noticed him earlier, maybe I would have changed something. Taken a different route. Left earlier. Stayed later. Anything. But when someone follows you correctly, you don't notice them at first. You just feel something. It started during my evening walks. I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Not isolated, not rural, just rows of houses, trimmed lawns, streetlights spaced evenly apart. I work remote, so walking after dinner became my routine. Same time every night. Around 9:15 p.m. The first strange thing wasn't visual. It was the sound. Footsteps. Faint. Behind mine. Perfectly timed. At first, I assumed it was echo. My own shoes bouncing off pavement and houses. But the rhythm was slightly off, half a second delayed. I stopped walking. The footsteps stopped. I turned around. Nothing. Empty street. Porch lights glowing. Distant hum of traffic. I stood there for a full 30 seconds, feeling stupid. Then I kept walking. The footsteps resumed. Again, slightly delayed. I told myself someone must be walking far behind me, just out of clear view. So I crossed the street. The footsteps crossed too. That's when my stomach tightened. I didn't turn around immediately this time. I kept walking, pretending not to care, listening carefully. Step. 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 Half second later. Step. 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 I turned sharply. No one. No movement. No silhouette. No door closing. Just an empty sidewalk under yellow streetlight. I went home early that night. I didn't walk the next evening. But on the third night, I convinced myself it was paranoia. I went out again. Same time. Same route. This time, I made it halfway through my usual loop before I saw him. Across the street. Walking parallel. Tall. Dark hoodie. Hands in pockets. He wasn't looking at me. But he was matching my pace exactly. If I slowed down, he slowed down. If I sped up, he adjusted. I tested it. I abruptly stopped. He stopped. But not instantly. Half a second later. Like he needed to register the change. My heart started pounding hard enough that I could hear it in my ears. I turned fully to face him. He didn't. He kept his body angled forward, staring ahead like he didn't even see me. Then he slowly resumed walking. I stood there frozen. Then I hurried home, not running, but close to it. I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. The next night, I changed the time. Instead of 9:15, I left at 8:30. Halfway down the street. He was already there. Across from me. Waiting. Walking the opposite direction at first. Then he turned. Matched my direction. Same distance. Same half-second delay. That's when I realized something worse. It wasn't just the walking. It was the breathing. I could hear it now. Faint. Behind me. Not across the street. Behind me. I spun around. No one. The man across the street hadn't moved closer. But the breathing sound didn't match his position. It was too near. That night, I didn't just walk home. I ran. I locked my doors. Checked my windows. Nothing. The next morning, I saw him again. In daylight. Standing at the far end of the block. Looking at my house. Not moving. Just standing. I grabbed my phone to record. When I looked back up, he was gone. No car pulling away. No footsteps. Just gone. I started changing everything. Different routes. Different times. Skipping days entirely. He adjusted every time. If I walked earlier, he was earlier. If I skipped 2 days, he appeared on the third. Always across the street. Always matching. Always slightly delayed. Like he wasn't reacting naturally, like he was sinking. One night, I did something stupid. I stopped in the middle of the street and stared directly at him. He stopped too. And this time, he looked back. His face was wrong. Not distorted. Not monstrous. Just still. Too still. No blinking. No expression. Just eyes locked on mine. Then he smiled. Not wide. Not exaggerated. Just enough to show he knew I finally understood. I walked home backward that night, keeping him in my view. He matched me backward. Same half-second delay. The next morning, I checked my front porch camera footage. Nothing unusual. No man. No hoodie. No parallel walker. But every night at 9:15 p.m., the camera recorded something strange. The audio picked up footsteps. Approaching my front door. Stopping. Then walking away. No visible person. Just sound. 2 weeks ago, I stopped walking completely. I haven't gone outside after dark since. But here's the part one can't explain. Even when I'm inside. Late at night. When I walk from my bedroom to the kitchen. I still hear them. Half a second behind mine. And when I stop. They stop. Right outside my bedroom door. I've driven long distances most of my life. Highways don't scare me. Isolation doesn't scare me. But there's something about being followed on an empty road at night that hits something primal in your brain. It started last October. I was driving back from visiting my sister, about 3 hours away. I left her place late, around 11:40 p.m. It was already pitch black by the time I got on Route 87, which cuts through miles of farmland and scattered forest. There are long stretches on that road where you don't see a single house. Just fields. Telephone poles. And darkness that feels thick. About 40 minutes into the drive, I noticed headlights behind me. That wasn't unusual. What was unusual was how steady they were. Same distance. Not gaining. Not falling back. Just there. I checked my speed. 65. I slowed down to 55. The headlights slowed too. I sped up to 75. They sped up. That's when my pulse ticked up. It could have been coincidence. Maybe they were just matching traffic flow. Except there was no traffic. No other cars in front of me. None coming from the opposite direction. Just me. And those headlights. 10 minutes passed. Still there. Exactly the same distance. Not attempting to pass. Not flashing brights. Just staying. I changed lanes briefly, drifting slightly to the right side like I was giving them room. They didn't pass. They stayed directly behind me. I turned on my blinker to exit at a random rural road I'd never used before. They signaled too. That's when the fear became real. The exit ramp led to a 2-lane country road surrounded by trees. No gas stations. No businesses. No streetlights. I debated turning around immediately. But I didn't want to look panicked. So I drove. They followed. I made 3 random turns. Left. Right. Left again. They mirrored every single one. At this point my hands were sweating on the steering wheel. I tried calling my sister. No signal. Of course. I drove faster. The road narrowed. Trees closed in tighter. And then something happened that made my stomach drop. The headlights went off. Not far back. Not turning away. They just disappeared. The car was still there. I could hear the engine faintly when I lowered my window. It was keeping pace with me. But with no lights. Completely dark. Following me on an unlit road. That's when I floored it. I hit 85 on a road I shouldn't have been going over 50. Branches blurred past. My headlights shook with the uneven pavement. Behind me. Still dark. But still there. Keeping up. I could feel it more than see it. I swerved suddenly into a narrow gravel driveway without signaling. Just jerked the wheel and prayed. My tires screeched. Gravel sprayed. I killed my headlights instantly. Sat in complete darkness. My heart was slamming so hard I thought I'd black out. I waited. 5 seconds. 10. Then I saw them. The headlights turned back on. They slowed. They passed the driveway. And for a moment, I thought it was over. But as the car passed, it slowed. Almost stopping. Like they were checking. I ducked down in my seat. Didn't breathe. After what felt like a full minute, the car continued down the road. Gone. I waited another 5 minutes before turning my car back on. When I did, my headlights flickered. Then stabilized. And that's when I saw where I had pulled into. It wasn't a driveway. It was a gated private property. And the gate was chained shut. There was no space for me to have driven in. I was facing solid metal bars. No room. No tire marks in gravel. Nothing disturbed. Like I hadn't turned at all. My hands went cold. Because I clearly remembered swerving in. Gravel flying. The car passing me. But the gate was untouched. Locked. Immovable. I slowly looked in my rearview mirror. The road behind me was empty. But far down in the distance, I saw headlights again. Coming back. Slow. Deliberate. That's when I realized something worse. The road I had turned onto earlier? It wasn't connected to Route 87. I checked my GPS. No signal. But the map still showed my route history. There was no exit where I turned. No rural road. No sequence of left and right turns. According to the GPS, I was still on Route 87. Driving straight. I don't remember how I got home. I remember headlights behind me almost the entire way. Sometimes visible. Sometimes gone. But always there when I checked. The next morning, I inspected my car. There was gravel lodged in my tires. Fine grey gravel that doesn't exist on Route 87. 2 days later, I drove that stretch in daylight. No rural exit. No narrow tree road. No gated property. Just continuous highway and farmland. Flat. Open. Endless. I haven't driven that route at night since. But sometimes, when I'm on the highway late, I see headlights in my rearview mirror that don't move. They don't pass. They don't flash. They just stay. Same distance. Matching my speed. And once. Just once. They turned off. And I could still hear the engine behind me. I didn't believe I was being followed at first. Because technically, he never touched me. Never spoke to me. Never broke a single law. He just existed. In the same places. At the same times. Watching. It started when I moved into my new apartment building downtown. Nothing fancy. 5 floors. Old brick exterior. Narrow hallways with beige carpet and buzzing fluorescent lights. I lived on the 3rd floor. The 4th floor was mostly vacant except for 2 tenants, according to the landlord. The first week was normal. The second week is when I noticed him. I was checking my mail around 8 p.m. when I felt that feeling. You know the one. The prickling at the back of your neck. I looked up toward the stairwell. He was standing at the top of the stairs on the half landing between the third and fourth floor. Not moving. Not pretending to check his phone. Just standing there. Looking down at me. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't obvious. But it was deliberate. I gave a small nod, like a normal person acknowledging another tenant. He didn't nod back. Didn't blink. I grabbed my mail and walked toward the stairs. He stepped back out of sight. I assumed he just didn't want to interact. Whatever. But over the next few days, it kept happening. Laundry room. Parking lot. Lobby. He would just appear. Always at a distance. Always watching. Never speaking. He looked mid-40s maybe. Thin. Pale. Short brown hair combed flat. Wore the same grey jacket every time. What bothered me wasn't his presence. It was the timing. One night I came home later than usual, around midnight. I'd stayed at a friend's place. As I stepped out of the elevator on the third floor, he was standing at the end of the hallway. Lights flickering above him. Completely still. Facing my direction. The hallway wasn't long. Maybe 20 yards. He could see exactly which door I walked to. Which apartment was mine. I froze for half a second. He didn't move. So I forced myself to walk normally. Unlocked my door. Went inside. Locked it. Deadbolt. Chain. Everything. I peeked through the peephole. He was gone. The next morning I asked the landlord about him. Guy on the fourth floor. Wears grey jacket. Quiet. The landlord frowned. Fourth floor's mostly empty. I clarified. There's 2 tenants up there, right? He hesitated. There's one. Unit for B. Who's in for A? Vacant. I felt my stomach tighten. Because when I'd seen him near the stairwell, it was always closer to 4A. That night, I decided to test something. I left my apartment around 10 p.m. Walked down the stairs quietly. Instead of leaving the building, I stayed on the landing between the second and third floor. Hidden around the corner. Waiting. 5 minutes passed. Nothing. Then. Footsteps above me. Slow. Measured. Coming down from the fourth floor. I held my breath. He walked down to the third floor. Paused. Then continued down to the lobby. He stood there for a full minute. Then went back upstairs. Back to the fourth floor. I didn't hear a door open. I didn't hear a door close. Just footsteps. The next day, I set up my old laptop inside my apartment, pointed toward the front door. Just recording. I didn't know what I expected. That night, around 2:17 a.m., I woke up suddenly. No noise. Just instinct. I checked my phone. 2:17. Then I heard it. A soft, almost polite knock. 3 taps. Not loud. Not aggressive. Just enough to wake someone who was already on edge. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. 3 more taps. Silence. I waited 10 minutes before checking the laptop recording. What I saw made my skin go cold. At 2:16 a.m. The hallway lights flicker. Then he steps into frame. Right in front of my door. He doesn't knock immediately. He stands there. For almost a full minute. Looking directly at the door. Then he leans forward. And presses his ear against it. Listening. After that. He knocks. 3 soft taps. Then he smiles. Not wide. Just a small, satisfied smile. And walks away. The next day, I called the landlord again. He swore there was no second tenant. We went upstairs together. Unit for A had a heavy padlock on the outside of the door. Dust on the handle. Clearly untouched. The landlord unlocked it. The apartment was empty. No furniture. No signs of life. Except for one thing. In the center of the living room floor was a folding chair. Facing the door. The landlord looked confused. He said maintenance must have left it. But the dust around the chair legs was disturbed. Like it had been moved recently. I didn't sleep that night. Around 1:40 a.m., I heard something different. Not knocking. Breathing. Soft. Right outside my door. I checked the camera feed live. He was there again. But closer this time. Not just listening. He was crouched. Eye level with the peephole. Staring directly into it. Like he knew I was watching. He stayed like that for 6 full minutes. Then he slowly stood up. And whispered something. The microphone barely caught it. I replayed it over and over. He said, "I know you're alone." The next morning, I packed a bag. I was leaving. But before I did, I checked something that had been bothering me. The building's emergency exit on the 4th floor. It required a key from the inside. I went up. It was unlocked. Door slightly ajar. When I pushed it open, there were cigarette butts on the rooftop. A blanket. And food wrappers. Someone had been staying up there. Watching. And the 4th floor window directly above my apartment? You could see straight into my living room. I moved out that week. Didn't tell the landlord why. Didn't report it. I just left. A month later, I got a package forwarded to my new address. No return label. Inside was a printed photo. Grainy. Taken from across the street. Through my old apartment window. Me. Standing in my living room. The timestamp was from 3 days before I moved out. On the back of the photo, written in pen. You forgot to close the blinds. I never found out who he was. Never saw his face again. But sometimes, when I'm in my current apartment, I'll hear soft footsteps in the hallway outside. Slow. Measured. Stopping right outside my door. And I'll check the peephole. And there will be no one there. But if I wait long enough, I can hear breathing. Right on the other side.